Hello and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with some more updates coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got lots of news to brief you on today. We're going to start off talking about Russia's massive losses that they're taking right now, not only in equipment, but also personnel. Now, this is a topic we've been discussing a lot recently, but I want to go more in depth into this and show you guys pictures, videos, and information coming out showing just how much Russia is losing right now, primarily in the Kursk region alone. They're losing lots of equipment. This is video footage coming out from the Kursk region, just being shared in the last 24 hours on X. This is showing lots of vehicles. We have tanks, armor personnel carriers, vehicles that are being destroyed in the Kursk region right now. These are Russian vehicles as they launched a major offensive recently, and primarily many of these vehicles were being destroyed just only due to landmines, okay? And that's what this video is showing here, is these vehicles traveling and then hitting landmines. So pretty crazy. Russia definitely is enduring major losses right now, especially in the Kursk region. And also we have an article that we're going to share with you here in just a moment, as Russia is slashing medical payments to Russian soldiers. So this is also indicating that they are taking on massive losses and the Russian economy cannot sustain supporting all these soldiers who are being injured. And many of them, their payouts are being slashed. So I want to talk some more about that today. And also we had last night Ukraine coming under attack by 83 kamikaze drones. I believe these are Shahed drones being fired from Russia once again. The port city of Odessa coming under attack heavily. There was lots of anti-aircraft gunfire being reported. I have a picture coming out from there to show you guys. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then also we had the foreign minister coming from Japan recently visiting Kiev today and announced a $3 billion aid package over to Ukraine. This is going to be utilized from frozen Russian assets that are sitting in banks. So it looks like we're going to have a huge package coming from Japan here very soon as well. So I want to go ahead and start diving into this and show you guys some of this information, talking about Russia's staggering losses right now. So let's hop on over to Newsweek just briefly. I want to show you guys this. This actually came out 2 days ago, but it was updated today. And I did a little bit of digging, looking to see if there was any mainstream news talking about Russia's losses. And I happened to find this, so I wanted to show this to you guys. I'm surprised this was not like frontline news, but it says here, Putin slashes soldiers' payouts as Russia's losses in Ukraine skyrocket. Okay, as you can see, published November 14th, so 2 days ago, but it was updated today on November 16th, 2024. It says right here, Russia will reduce payments to troops injured in Vladimir Putin's full-scale invasion of Ukraine as his government faces ballooning war costs and huge personnel losses. A Kremlin decree introduced Wednesday, signed by the Russian president, restricts medical payouts of 3 million rubles or $30,000 to those who suffer severe injuries in combat. Isn't that insane, guys? Severe injuries, and that's all you get is $30,000 or 3 million rubles. Previously, the sum was available to anyone wounded. Now those with less severe injuries will only get between 1 million rubles or $10,000 and 100,000 rubles, $1,000. Imagine that. Imagine getting injured and all you get is $1,000 or 100,000 rubles. That's basically nothing, right? Under the Kremlin's new guidelines, soldiers will only receive full compensation if they suffer Section 1 injuries that endanger their life or health or cause significant damage to their organs, such as severe spinal injuries, brain damage, rib fractures, and broken limbs. Isn't that insane, guys? So this shows even more that Russia's economy definitely is struggling to support this war, as they even have to slash the payouts for medical expenses for these soldiers. So I can't imagine being a Russian soldier right now, going to the front lines, risking your life. And even if you get severely injured or even just partially injured, you're basically going to get no compensation at all, or very little compensation is what it looks like to me. So pretty crazy. Now we're going to hop on over to X and I'm going to show you guys some information over here. We've got lots of news coming out on X today from Sean Pinner. Several sources are reporting that Russia has lost so many vehicles around Kursk they are now attacking using Urals, I think it's Urals or Urals, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, to assault positions and are getting smashed. So look at this, they're even having to use transport vehicles now, like these, I'm going to call it Ural, I'm not sure if that's the correct pronunciation, but I believe it's Urals. Instead of tanks, they obviously have a short supply of tanks. We even reported that the company Mosfilm, a film studio inside of Russia, donating their prop tanks that they use for movies, as Russia is definitely struggling to produce tanks, obviously, for the war effort. Okay, so they're even launching attacks inside of these transport vehicles as they don't have anything else apparently in the Kursk region. And this makes a lot of sense to me too, because we heard a few months back that even Belarus was donating a bunch of their equipment. Who knows? It was actually donated. Maybe it was forced upon Belarus. Who knows? But Belarus was reporting that they were sending a bunch of armored vehicles and trucks, equipment over to Western Russia in the Kursk region, so that way Russia could continue their operations. So, I mean, just like that video I showed you guys earlier, what was being reported on the waiting screen when you guys came in, just 17 vehicles alone were being destroyed due to landmines. That's what those videos, the compilation of videos were coming out. And that was directly from Ukraine's defense ministry, okay? So also, we're going to go over here to War Translated Dmitry. A Russian soldier shows the aftermath of a successful strike on 2 Grad MLRS using a HIMARS system. In one Grad launcher, the ammunition detonated, leaving nothing but a twisted piece of metal. In the other, the ammunition remained intact, but the vehicle was still destroyed. One can only imagine the sheer force of the explosion. So this was actually being reported a few days ago that we had some Russian MLRS Grad launchers that were destroyed. I think 2 of them or more were destroyed in one single strike from a HIMARS attack. And I wanted to show you guys the video footage of this, just showing this entire forest that has been wiped out by HIMARS and also these Grad launchers that have been destroyed. Take a look at this.
Выебал мой град. Вчера химарь, блядь, прилетел. Ёбаный в рот. Сейчас покажу, что нахуй от него, блядь, осталось. Выгорело нахуй, все. Деревьев нету совсем нихуя. Ёбнул пакет полный. Просто пиздец. Блядь, глянь, что, блядь, осталось. Ёбаный в рот. Лес густой был, блядь. Это пиздос. Ёпта, до сих пор все тлеет, нахуй. Ёпта, глянь, деревья поповалило какие. Ебать, тулюсь, нахуй. Глянь. Пакет въебал. Пиздец. Вот что осталось от моего града, блядь. Глянь, ёб, стволы повалило нахуй. Тут ебать помаху им сдул. Ёбаный в рот. Так нахуй, блядь, и работаем. Ёбаный в рот. Пиздец, нихуя после с леса не осталось. Ёбаный в рот. Вон ямка, глянь какая. Вон мост нахуй. Зарытый, блядь. А вот от БМки что осталось? Кусок нахуй. Ёпта. Пиздец. Ебало, вон раскиданы мосты. Если вот кусок металлолома нахуй. А еще дымится стоит. Отъебнуло тоже. Но пакет не сдетонировал нихуя. Вся посечена нахуй. Вот так вот. Лесополки нет нихуя. Ёбнешься. Яма знатная.
All right, pretty insane, right? So we were able to see these Grad launchers. 2 of them were destroyed in this tree line, as you can see as well. This entire forest that looks to be very dense prior to it being struck by these HIMARS attacks, definitely destroyed as well. Okay, we can see lots of damage here. This whole tree line just completely wiped out. So it looks like a very heavy attack by HIMARS was reported here in this area. So pretty crazy to be seeing that. So we're going to move on to another update now. We've got one here from Null Reports. Ukrainian SSO captured more Russian soldiers in the Kursk region. So this is Ukraine's special forces, I believe, or special operations forces that captured what looks like 3 more Russian soldiers in the Kursk region. We definitely saw a lot of this that was being reported at the very beginning of the operations when Ukraine first pushed into the Kursk region, but looks like they are continuing to capture Russian soldiers here and there. Okay, also, from Null Reports again, facing a shortage of junior officers due to heavy frontline losses, Russia is now scrambling to expand training programs. According to Ukrainian military intelligence, new military training centers are being set up at civilian universities to quickly prepare platoon and artillery battery commanders. So we've definitely been seeing lots of reports like this. Definitely desperate maneuvers that the Russian government is taking to recruit as many Russian soldiers as they can, and clearly looks like they're running out of even junior officers on the field as many of them are being wiped out. Okay, so again, even more information here showing that Russia is taking on massive losses on the battlefield right now. Okay, also from Military News UA, Ukrainian National Guard soldiers destroyed a Russian Buk M1 air defense system. All right, so these air defense systems are very expensive. I think they're somewhere around $10 million a piece. So I'm going to show you guys this video footage. Unfortunately, I can't play the sound because it's got music, but we can let it roll here. And we're going to be able to see a Ukrainian FPV drone dropping a grenade or some sort of explosive onto this system, completely destroying it. And this is obviously a major loss, a $10 million air defense system being destroyed. We can see that grenade being dropped now, striking directly on top of this system. Then we're going to see lots of fire here coming up in just a second as well, and showing this thing going up in flames and being destroyed. Another major loss from the Russians as well. And again, simply just due to an FPV drone. I've been talking to you guys a lot about these FPV drones. I believe these are actually very much game-changing in this war, and they have been destroying lots of equipment and soldiers from the Russian side, okay? So Ukraine is definitely stepping it up with these FPV drones at this time, okay? So pretty crazy video to see right there. Also moving on to another update. This is from Chuck Farrer, says, sorry, we're closed. Russian sources report that at least 3 Russian oil refineries could face closures next year as drone attacks, declining exports, high crude oil costs, and soaring interest rates lead to mounting financial losses. So this was actually being widely reported on mainstream news yesterday. I think there was 3 oil refineries that were potentially going to be closing, or at least for maybe temporarily a short time, or maybe moving forward in the future, maybe longer, 6 months or more. It all depends. But we have been hearing a lot that the oil and gas industry inside of Russia is suffering heavily. We even heard that Gazprom months ago was taking on staggering losses. Okay, and this is due to a lot of the drone attacks on oil, their oil and gas industry. We've been reporting dozens of oil depots coming under attack, even the Moscow oil refinery being struck at one point as well. So definitely their oil industry is being hit very hard right now. And again, 3 of their refineries, maybe even more in the future, could be shutting down due to many issues of just keeping these things running and short supply, and also mounting losses in income as well. So pretty crazy. Russia's economy is getting battered right now. Also from PS01, Russian railways have practically stopped cargo transportation in Russia. Russian railways has stopped sending containers to one of the main container terminals in Moscow region, Selyatino, for 10 days, according to the company employees working with this terminal. The restriction is in effect from November 12th to the 21st, and is due to the fact that the terminal is overcrowded and the Moscow railway is overloaded, according to Russian Railways documents. The situation is similar in another large terminal, Trogli. I'll probably pronounced that wrong, my apologies. Trains with containers cannot get there either. They have been standing for more than 10 days, approximately 1,000 kilometers from the capital, between Perm and Kirov. Delivery delays are huge. A month is considered a good time, and 2 months are no longer uncommon. Key stations on the import route from the Far East to Central Russia are clogged with abandoned trains from which the locomotive has been uncoupled and left on sidings, for an indefinite period, shippers say. In most cases, Russian Railways explains the need to leave a train without service by a shortage of rolling stock and locomotive crews. Employees of transport companies explain the company is short 2.5 thousand drivers, said Deputy General Director of Russian Railways Dmitry Shikhanov. The problem is so serious that in early November, the heads of several major railway operators complained about Russian railways to presidential advisor Igor Levitin. They write that their clients' shippers are increasingly faced with a lack of wagons for loading. According to their estimates, already in mid-October, 35 to 40% of cargo intended for shipment to the central part of this country was not loaded onto the West Siberian Railway. So look at this, guys, too. I mean, even their railway system's just taking massive losses as well. I mean, we have even reported so many times that trains are just derailing all over the place in Russia. We heard months back as well that their railway system is suffering so heavily it could literally collapse at any moment. So, think about when it comes to transportation around in Russia right now, just the railway systems alone, it's got to be a complete mess. And this war is making it even more difficult, especially when we're having potential sabotage operations on some of these railways, as we've been seeing so many cargo trains that are just derailing all over the place, but primarily in the Moscow region is what we have been seeing. So pretty crazy. Even their railway systems taking a major hit. Also from NOAA reports, Russian losses per November 16, 2024, reported by the Ukrainian General Staff: 1,650 men, 8 tanks, 26 AFVs, 28 artillery systems, and 28 UAVs. Here's a little diagram to show you guys all the losses. And what we have been seeing is almost every single day, anywhere from 1,500 and up personnel that's just being lost alone, okay? And another 8 tanks over the last 24 hours, added to what Ukraine believes their estimates, upwards of 9,338 tanks have been destroyed in this war. And if you look at this, look at that, guys, 719,240 troops on the Russian side. Assuming that these numbers are correct, I mean, I'm sure the numbers are extremely high, even if these estimates are not perfect, or maybe they could be far off, who knows? I'm sure just the Russian side alone, and even the Ukrainians are probably taking massive losses, but definitely on the Russian side, we have been seeing major losses just in troop numbers alone, okay? Also from Glasnost, overnight, Russia launched its usual war crimes air attack on Ukraine. Air defenses did well, downing 53 of 83 large kamikaze drones, and remaining 30 were lost on radar, presumably affected by electronic warfare systems. Air defenses, first pick, protecting southern port city of Odessa, poured out fire, lighting up the sky. Kiev suffered minor damage from drone debris. Damage and overnight shelling also affected several other regions. Okay, so this is a picture that was coming out from the port city of Odessa, showing heavy anti-aircraft gunfire from the Ukrainians as they were trying to take down incoming drones just last night in their city. Here's a diagram showing that the Ukrainians took down 53 out of these 83 kamikaze drones that were incoming to Ukraine just yesterday, okay? So definitely another major drone attack from the Russians. Also from next to Kyoto, Japanese Foreign Minister Iwaya makes unannounced visit to Ukraine. Iwaya is expected to meet with Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiga and potentially talk with President Zelensky later in the day. Here was a picture of him showing up right here at the train station in Kiev. So again, this was an unannounced visit today. We had no idea that the Japanese foreign minister was supposed to be heading over to Kiev. And we heard this report coming out hours later from next to Japan allocates $3 billion to Ukraine from Russian frozen assets. Thank you for supporting Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity and for significant financial and humanitarian aid, Zelensky said, highlighting the new assistance package. So that's huge, guys. Another $3 billion. I mean, there's already somewhere around $7 to $9 billion coming from the United States very soon. And now another $3 billion coming from this. And we're still waiting for, I think, upwards of $20 billion coming from G7 leaders. And that will be coming from frozen Russian assets as well. So lots of support going to Ukraine right now. Also from Bliskovka, one of the 2 power lines of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant was cut off due to enemy shelling, Ministry of Energy reported. Currently, the plant is connected to the power grid by only one line. Okay, this is very dangerous, guys. We've been consistently hearing, that power lines are being damaged at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Sometimes Russia has been claiming that this was Ukraine doing this, and then other times Ukraine has been claiming that Russia was doing this. So we don't know who exactly is attacking these power lines, whether they're being deliberately attacked or it's just completely by accident. Who really knows? But again, we are hearing that power lines at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant are being destroyed due to attacks, okay? And this is very dangerous because if the power gets cut off to this facility completely, we could have a major meltdown and potentially a nuclear event in this area. So hopefully we don't see that in the future. We are definitely hearing lots of reports. This is probably the 3rd or 4th, maybe more reports by now that I have shared just on Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant alone of these power lines that have been destroyed, okay? Also from next to Zelensky, Putin wants to negotiate Ukraine's surrender, but it won't happen. We will not allow it. Zelensky stated, I will only take negotiations with Trump seriously, not his advisors. This is the level of presidents. Okay, so we've been hearing a lot of this from Volodymyr Zelensky as well. saying that, obviously Vladimir Putin's come out multiple times saying that they're ready to negotiate, but Ukraine is not going to surrender, okay? And a large part of this as well when it comes to negotiations is we know that Vladimir Zelensky is pushing really hard to not cede any territory over to Russia, but we have also been hearing that Donald Trump may push Ukraine to try to cede this territory over to Russia that's already been claimed on the eastern side of Ukraine, and they may freeze the war kind of where it stands. But definitely Zelensky seems like that's not something in his nature that he wants, that he definitely wants all of his land back inside of Ukraine. Also from the Ukrainian Review, Trump is on the side of supporting Ukraine, appreciates our strength, integrity, and courage. Let's look further, says Zelensky. Ukraine did not receive even half of the weapons that were officially allocated by the U.S., and Europe helped our country no less than the USA. So we've heard this multiple times coming out from Zelensky saying that they haven't received half of the weapons that were agreed upon. So that's obviously a problem. That requires NATO and the U.S. to step up and start sending the weapons over that have been agreed upon. The NATO Secretary Generals, not only the current one, Mark Rutte, but also Jens Stoltenberg, the previous NATO Secretary General, came out repeatedly saying that NATO needed to step up to their commitments. All the countries that said they were going to send aid packages over to Ukraine need to get it done and send them over. So that's obviously a problem for Ukraine. But when it comes to Donald Trump, it looks like I've been hearing a lot lately that Vladimir Zelensky seems to be optimistic about Trump, and maybe it will favor Ukraine in the end. We'll see. Hopefully it does for them. But time will tell as we move into the future, okay? Also, from the Ukrainian Review, FDP leader Christian Durr wants to see his party in the next government and supply Taurus cruise missiles to Ukraine, according to NAS. He may put the issue of supplying Ukraine with Taurus missiles to a vote in the Bundestag, okay? So this is huge news. Obviously, these missiles right here, the Taurus missiles, could be very useful for Ukraine. Ukraine does have F-16s, and they could be attaching these to their F-16s. It could definitely make a major impact on the battlefield. Maybe, maybe not. But we know for the longest time that Germany has been not wanting to send these over for what they fear is escalation purposes, especially if Ukraine starts using these inside of Russia. But we've been hearing a lot of reports on this. I've been sharing this with you guys that we could potentially be seeing Taurus cruise missiles from Germany heading over to Ukraine in the future. So we'll see what happens with that. Also from Jürgen Audit, there's information about the existence of a factory in China that produces drones and then supplies them to the Russian Federation. A senior EU official said, citing intelligence data, the FAS wrote yesterday that China had sent weapons to Russia for the first time to use against Ukraine, and Europe may want to react with sanctions. The politicians in Europe really don't seem to have learned much in 33 months of war. Russia and the countries that support Russia are becoming more and more aggressive, and Europe is reacting with weak sanctions. Democracy has its strengths and weaknesses, but I've never thought that the weaknesses could be so serious that they could lead to the downfall of democracy. So this was being widely reported yesterday that supposedly a company in China had been sending drones over to Russia directly to support the war. And we've heard repeatedly China coming out in the past saying that they're not involved in any way. The U.S. has been applying sanctions onto companies that are associated with some of the productions of products for Russia inside of China recently. And now it looks like potentially the Chinese are sending drones directly from their country over to Russia. This could be really big because we've also been seeing North Korea getting heavily involved. Now, is China going to be the next country that gets heavily involved with this war? Well, it looks like so far Europe is only going to be preparing sanctions on China very soon, as they found out this information, supposedly that drones are coming directly from China over to Russia. Okay, also from Nexta, according to the Washington Post, Russia to delay talks until it regains Kursk region. The Kremlin reportedly aims to ensure that any potential negotiations focus solely on Ukrainian territory. So we do know that Vladimir Putin is pushing to try to regain the Kursk region by January 20th, by the time Donald Trump gets into office. And obviously that's a major goal for the Russians. We'll see if they're going to be able to obtain that. Maybe, maybe not. So far, it looks like Ukraine is holding on in the Kursk region very well. Also, at the same time, they're not going to negotiate until they get the Kursk region back. So, what happens if they do not regain the Kursk region? I mean, obviously, maybe at some point could they, if the war drags on long enough, let's say another year, could that give Russia enough time to retake the Kursk region if they're not able to get it done by January 20th? Could be possible. Yeah, but looks like they're not going to negotiate until they get that back. So that'll get interesting whenever January 20th comes around if they do not reclaim it. Okay, also from Military News UA, we have 4 types of domestic missiles. Testing is underway, according to Vladimir Zelensky. We are technologically the strongest in Europe. We have a fleet of naval drones. So this was actually reported, I think, on a Ukrainian radio station today. Vladimir Zelensky was in an interview on a Ukrainian radio channel. And yeah, so this was apparently something that he mentioned, that they have 4 types of domestic missiles that they're producing right now. We also heard recently that they could be producing somewhere around 10 to 15 of these per month. And they are working on moving that number up, okay, to maybe 30, 40, 50, who knows how many. But by next year, we could definitely potentially see ballistic and cruise missiles that are domestically produced inside of Ukraine flying into Russian territory. So the longer that this war goes on, it could definitely favor Ukraine in the future, assuming that they can hold on to the Eastern Front and not lose more territory. So also from Kiev Post, German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock is calling for a new large security package to Kiev, including the supply of broader range of weapons. We must defend Ukraine precisely because we are a strong democracy, Baerbock declared, urging immediate action. Now it is a matter of finally finding the strength to do what our partners are already doing, Baerbock stated. So the German Foreign Minister, Annalena Baerbock, pushing for a major weapons package for Ukraine. And obviously right now inside of Germany, they're having major political issues, also economic issues, but it looks like they're still willing to support Ukraine as much as possible. So it looks like expect more support packages coming from Germany here very soon. Also from Max 24, killer robots are about to fill Ukrainian skies, according to the Wall Street Journal. Kiev's drone suppliers are ramping up production of computer-guided drones that are cheap and can't be electronically jammed. Small mini-computers are placed inside the drones. A fist-sized mini computer provides computer vision technology to counter GPS jammers. It is possible to control a swarm of drones, providing fully autonomous flight. Production is being ramped up to industrial scale. So look at this, guys. I mean, Ukraine is definitely ramping up production for FPV drones. They've realized that they are very effective in this war. And this is modern warfare, okay? Drones are definitely going to be the future in terms of war. And this war between Russia and Ukraine is definitely proving that. The Ukrainians have been very successful at using these. As I've shown you guys repeatedly on this channel, they have destroyed lots of equipment and soldiers from the Russian side just using a simple quadcopter drone like this. Okay, so a few more things to show you guys. From the Clash report, the final solution, Russian soldiers have now made the ultimate Blyat mobile to protect against Ukrainian FPV drones. So this is more show that the FPV drones are very effective against not only Russian soldiers, but also their vehicles, okay? And I think this is like a Russian BTR or some sort of armored personnel carrier covered in a bunch of spikes. And we'll go ahead and take a look at this briefly. I'm not going to watch the whole thing. It's like a minute and a half long. This video is already getting very long today. But you can see they have covered this entire, what appears to be a Russian BTR or armored personnel carrier with cages and also these spikes, these metal spikes all over the place. I mean, look at this. Pretty crazy. Here's even the backside. Looks like it just has a door where they can climb in through the back here. And all these spikes completely covering this armored personnel carrier. So obviously, I mean, even heavy armored vehicles like this are at risk of being destroyed by a simple FPV drone, okay? So pretty crazy. That was being filmed by a Russian soldier as he was touring one of these armored personnel carriers covered in protection by FPV drones, okay? So also from Max 24, British company BAE Systems will open a new factory for the production of M777 howitzers to strengthen support for Ukraine. Okay, we've been hearing a lot about this. Looks like Ukraine's going to be receiving lots of these howitzer artillery guns in the near future, as a British company is going to be opening a new factory inside of Ukraine. And we've also been hearing that potentially in the future, we're going to see lots of contractors military contractors around the world, but primarily even in the United States, could potentially start opening up shop inside Ukraine to domestically produce weapons inside their country, which could solve a lot of logistics problems that they're currently having. Okay, also for Max 24, in recent weeks, North Korea provided to Russia some 50 domestically produced 170 millimeter M1989 Koksan self-propelled howitzers and 20 updated 240 millimeter multiple launch rocket systems that can fire standard rockets and guided ones, according to the Financial Times. Okay, so yesterday I reported to you guys that we had these M1989 Koksans, these self-propelled howitzers that were spotted inside Russia on some trains, apparently coming from North Korea, and probably dozens, if not more, of these were already sent over. So now we have an official report from the Financial Times confirming that not only artillery guns are being sent over to Russia, but also long-range rocket systems. Okay, so this is definitely heating up big time over here. North Korea is getting more and more involved in this war, fighting on behalf of Russia, also having their own troops over there to possibly man many of these systems. So it's definitely getting out of control over there when it comes to North Korea's support for Russia. Okay, also for Max 24, corruption remains the main obstacle to Ukraine's accession to NATO and the EU, and also hinders the country's economic recovery and the attraction of foreign capital, Pentagon's Inspector General's office said. P.S. What do you think about it? So I'll ask you guys the same thing. Do you think that Ukraine is definitely struggling with a major corruption issue? This has apparently been reported many times in the past that Ukraine appears to be a very corrupt country, or at least has some corruption that they need to get rid of before they could even join NATO. Those have been reports that have come out in the past, in the last few months. But let me know what you think down below. Do you think Ukraine should join NATO? And if so, should they solve a potential corruption problem that they have in their country? Is Ukraine corrupt? Is it not? Let me know what you think down below in the comment section, okay? Also from the Ukrainian Review, the Russians are accumulating missiles. Combined attacks on Russian energy facilities will continue, but we are preparing, according to Zelensky. We are ready for winter stronger than ever. Now Ukraine is in a very good position in terms of air defense systems and their missiles. Okay, so we know that Ukraine is working on getting ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and then also in terms of air defense systems, they've been calling for more and more of these as time has gone on. So obviously they're as prepared as they can be, but definitely they could use more equipment right now. But in terms of Russia accumulating missiles, we've heard about this. I reported to you guys just in the last 48 hours. We had a whole report that apparently the Russians are stacking up cruise missiles and ballistic missiles right now, preparing for a major attack on Ukraine's energy system, potentially once again. And now that we're moving into winter, this is the time when Ukraine really needs energy, when 80% or more of their energy systems have already been destroyed. So Russia's definitely potentially preparing for a major attack on energy sites inside of Ukraine. And this could be a bad situation for the winter in Ukraine if that happens to come to fruition. Okay, also one last thing from Max 24, the U.S. has approximately $9 billion left to provide weapons to Ukraine under various programs, said Sabrina Singh on the Voice of America. So she is the Pentagon spokeswoman, and the Pentagon says they intend to use the entire amount before the end of Biden's presidency. However, the delivery of some weapons to Ukraine may continue after January 20th. Okay, so $9 billion in presidential drawdown authority packages have already been set up and ready to go. $9 billion in aid going over to Ukraine very soon. The only problem is logistics, getting the weapons over there. Many times apparently will require some delays, and they won't be able to get them there as quickly by January 20th. Potentially after that, if Donald Trump gets into office, even if these weapons package are approved right now under the Biden administration, they could be halted further in the future after January 20th when Trump gets in. If Trump decides to cut off support for Ukraine, that's been a talk lately about these weapons. But yeah, $9 billion left that is going to be sent to Ukraine. So Ukraine is definitely getting a lot of support right now in the billions. And just wanted to get some of these details out here to you guys, let you know about the Russian losses right now, and also some of the struggles that Ukraine is dealing with. So I appreciate you hanging out here with me today. If you got something out of this update, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.